Hi there. And today's video, we want to talk to you about how to be a successful student. And in this, we're going to look at being a student really throughout life versus just a student when we think of being in high school, middle school, college, what have you. It's really about being a student throughout your life. So that's kind of going to be our focus as we delve in to answering that very important question, how to be a successful student. In the first part of this video, we're going to cover what it means to be a student, lifelong learning, right? So it's not just about your school years, it's really about learning throughout your life. Right along with that, we want to talk about what it means to be a student of life, right? So not just about lifelong learning, but of life itself. Incorporated in that's going to be what we talk about next, which would be wisdom and acquiring wisdom. And fourth, it'll be all about the personal growth and personal development throughout your lifetime. And you'll see how they all kind of flow from one into the other as we talk about those. And we will also talk about a real life example of somebody whose lifelong learning led to tremendous success. When we talk about lifelong learning, we're talking about having that curiosity, that desire to learn throughout your lifetime. Regardless of what you do for a career, there's going to be times where you're going to need to learn new things. There are going to be times where you want to learn new things. So developing the whole mindset and everything around enjoying learning and being curious and how to go about that learning process is really what we're talking about with this idea of lifelong learning. In the classic book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, one of the chapters in there is all about specialized knowledge and how important specialized knowledge is to increase your value in the workplace or in the work world. So whether you become an entrepreneur or what have you is really irrelevant. When you have specialized knowledge, you become much more valuable. My cousin's husband developed specialized knowledge for his company. He was one of the few who really understood a piece of, I don't remember even what it was, some sort of mechanical aspect to what the company used where he worked. He was like the expert in this piece of machinery or whatever it was. He became really valuable. They couldn't afford to ever let him go or anything. They had to keep him happy with raises and such because he had this specialized knowledge that very few people within that company had, and they needed it. They needed him. So that idea behind lifelong learning is something that we all need to take with us. When I talk about being a student of life, I'm talking about really being reflective about the lessons that we are supposed to be learning through everyday living. There's lessons each day that we should be kind of taking in. Sometimes those lessons are obvious, but lots of times we don't even bother trying to figure them out. And this is especially true with negative events. Those events that didn't go the way we wanted them to, those events that we have negative emotions around, those events where we're frustrated and angry or sad or hurt, or we question why me, those sort of emotions which are so natural. For us to really deal with those, and I'm talking at a psychological level and even with the work I do with clients, we've got to find out what that learning was, what they're supposed to learn from the event. And that's what I'm talking about being a student of life. The importance of constantly seeking to be better, right? That is really one of the, again, partly my belief, but this isn't just a Christian worldview, Muslim worldview, like so many of the worldviews are about becoming better as a person. That's entwined in so much of their thinking. It really is kind of in our hearts as humans. And that's what we're talking about when it comes to about being student of life. You know, in philosophy, wisdom's talked about a lot. And there's well, you could take classes on this. So I've got like 2 minutes to kind of talk about what we're trying to deal with wisdom. And essentially, I think most of us have this understanding about being wise is when we've taken our knowledge, which comes from our experiences and all our learnings and all those sort of things, and we're able to process that to make decisions that are positive. They are good decisions. They're based on reasonable thinking, maybe including our emotions and all. And it's difficult sometimes to say what is wise globally because, for example, the earliest explorers who came to America, was that wise? In many regards, if you are living in that time, in that day, and in that moment, many, many, many people did not think that would be a wise decision. Foolhardy, way too risky. They're never going to come back. They're going to get lost at sea. They're going to die. Sea monsters will eat them, whatever it was, right? A lot of people would say that wasn't a very wise decision. But those who made it, well, history be the judge, I guess. It certainly changed the world, didn't it? Going right along with this theme about being a student of life and wisdom, acquiring wisdom, is this idea of personal growth and self-discovery. In fact, I think it was Aristotle who had said that knowing thyself is the beginning of wisdom. So this idea of self-discovery is at the root of wisdom. This idea of constantly trying to become better and, polish off our weaknesses and all that is also deeply connected to self-discovery. And it really should be something that we pursue, right? Those people who've been successful in life, those people who are the happiest, those people who've attained levels of achievement that other people will go, oh, this person's successful, have a tendency to be very self-reflective. They work on themselves. They try to reinvent themselves. They aren't just stuck in who they were. You can even look at, I'll use another relative as an example who became very successful in the corporate world and said that success came at times with some real blunt conversations with supervisors who said, you really need to work on some of these people skills. Your ability to manage people, well, it needs to improve. And he did, and that was why he was able to advance and achieve the level of success that he did, because he was willing enough to realize that he needed to grow and to change, and he took that advice, heeded it, and applied it. And that's what we're kind of talking about here. For a real life example, I want us to consider the life of Albert Schweitzer. Albert Schweitzer was an accomplished musician and a theologian. When in his 30s, he decided to study medicine. He became a well-known physician. In fact, he served the dire communities, the communities in Africa that were lacking the medical care. He started hospitals in some really poor parts of the world. And he became well known for his philosophies and his generosity and his giving, but he was constantly learning. That's was a key aspect of his entire life, was this idea of growing and becoming better and learning more and giving back and all of these things. So Albert Schweitzer is a great example of somebody who practiced lifelong learning and achieved tremendous international acclaim and success. Once again, I invite you to subscribe to my channel, check out the other videos. Again, we have more coming all the time. If you guys also have questions, you can put questions down in there. That's how I kind of keep getting questions. That's one of the ways. You might also want to check out my podcasts. It's got some podcasts there that you might be interested in. And specifically, you might want to check out the video, How to Be Successful in High School.